Hello, my name is Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm probably best known for writing this book here called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was first published in 1997, and my wife and I created this board game, Cash Flow. And the purpose of our work is to increase people's financial IQ. So, question people often ask is, what is a good return on my money? Some people say a 10% return is good. Well, so that means if I put in $1,000 and I get $100 back per year, that's considered good. But what you're going to find out today that's actually chump change. It's not that much money. So we're going to be talking about how your financial education and a higher financial IQ can actually teach you how to make money out of nothing, something called an infinite return. So I'm going to bring up my sweetheart Kim and Ken McElroy, our business partner in our real estate deals. He's also a Rich Dad advisor, author of the ABCs of Real Estate. And they'll be actually talking about a real estate deal that we have done where we got an infinite return.
Hi, I'm Kim Kiyosaki, the co-founder of the Rich Dad Company along with my husband Robert, and I'm also the author of Rich Woman. This is a book for women on money and investing because we women need to take care of ourselves financially and be prepared for whatever comes our way.
And I'm Ken McElroy, Rich Dad advisor and property investor, and we're going to talk today about principles in this book, which are basically how to buy properties at cash flow and produce infinite returns.
And when Ken and I and Robert first met, the reason we got together is because we are so aligned on our philosophy, especially about cash flow.
And management. When I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I said, this is the only book I've ever read that likes property management.
So this is a deal that we've actually done. We did this in 2004 in Tucson, Arizona. These are numbers we're going to show you today that are real, actual numbers. So let's just start off on what this property was.
Yeah, what it was is it's a 144-unit property that's located in Tucson, Arizona, and it had 10 acres of land right next door. And so it had the ability to build an additional 100-plus units on it. So that's really why I brought it to you guys and why you ended up investing in it. So the reason I like this deal is because it was 144 units plus land. So we bought the property for $7.1 million and the land for $500,000. And I knew that the bank would give us 4.9 in a loan, and I needed 2.7 in equity.
So you came to us and to raise money, and what we liked about the deal is, number one, there was that big opportunity of the land, but also there was 144 units rented that gave us cash flow immediately.
Which was very important when you're raising money to have cash flow.
We love cash flow.
Yeah, cash flow is good. So then the second part was we go to the bank and we say, okay, we've got these 10 acres and we want to build 100-plus units on it, and we ended up getting a construction loan with another for another $5 million.
And with that construction loan, we built 108 units. So at that point, we had 108 plus 144, 252 units that were built. And it took us some time to get it up and running, to get it leased, get the cash flowing. And once we could get the cash flow, more income was now coming in. Right. And we were able to then at that point go back to the bank and refinance. Yeah.
So it takes about a year to build it and about a year to lease up that property. So once the whole property is what the bank calls stabilized, then you go get a new appraisal. And that appraisal came in at $15.7 million.
15.7.
Yeah.
So of the 15.7, how much of the bank loan did we get?
Well, the bank gave us 80%, which ended up being about $12.5 million in a new loan.
Okay, so we got a new loan now of $12.5 million.
Right, and then we had to pay off the old one, which was $9.2 million.
Including the construction loan.
Right.
And that gave us a remaining $3.3 million.
Correct.
And from that?
From that, we owed all the investors their original equity, which was $2.7.
And on top of it, so that leaves another $600,000. So for Robert and me, we put in $1 million. We got our $1 million back. Plus, we got an extra $200,000 from the refinance.
Right. So at that point, everybody's out.
Everybody's out, and we're still getting cash flow from the property. We have no money into it, and that's an infinite return.
Right, and we still own it today. Cash flow is about $300,000 a year.
So once again, it takes financial IQ, financial intelligence to make money with nothing. But making money is only part of the story. The next question is, how do you pay less in taxes for the money you make? So with that, I'm going to bring up my friend, Rich Dad advisor, Tom Wheelwright. He's also the author of a book called Tax-Free Wealth. So with that, here's Tom to talk about the last deal on how we pay tax on very little tax on it. So before we get into the numbers and taxes, Tom, would you give the audience a little bit of your background, please?
Sure. I have a master's of tax degree, and then on top of that, I spent 7.5 years with one of the 4 largest accounting firms in the world, Ernst & Young, and I spent another 4 years as the in-house tax advisor for a Fortune 1000 company before starting my own firm that I've been running for the last 16 years.
And this guy loves taxes. So let's just summarize here. Kim and I put in $1 million. We got $1.2 million back, and every month we get X number of thousands of dollars every month income. So it's an infinite return. But how does that look from a tax side?
It's wonderful from a tax side because the cash flow that came back as you were getting the monthly checks, totally tax-free. On top of that, the $1.2 million you got back is also tax-free because that $1.2 million is really debt, and debt isn't taxable. And then on top of that, when you put the money back into a new project, the money from that, the cash flow there, is also tax-free. And in addition, because there's so much tax benefits in these real estate deals, you also got to use tax benefits from the real estate to offset other income, and the government actually wrote you a check.
Right. And the thing about it, the government wants you to do this because, number one, we provide housing, okay? And we use debt because they want us to use debt. They want us to borrow money.
That's exactly right. The tax law is merely a series of incentives for real estate investors, other investors, and business owners. And so the government wants the private people, private investors, to do their work for them, basically. They want to make sure they provide housing, provide jobs, provide commercial buildings, produce oil.
Food.
And all of this is done through provisions in the tax law to provide incentives to people who put their money in that and risk their money, really, in order to do that. The great thing is, in these deals, is that that money is risked for a very short period of time, then it comes back, and you're back to an infinite return.
So the last thing is, people oftentimes say, well, you only do that in America. Is that true?
What's great, and in my book, Tax-Free Wealth, I talk about how this applies to every country. There are lots of countries that have these exact same provisions, and the tax law in every country is really just a series of incentive plans. That's all it is.
So with that, that's all part of financial IQ, is how do you make money and how do you minimize taxes legally.